Thank you very much for the introduction. I actually also plan to do a quick intro, but we can keep that a bit shorter. My name is Moritz. I'm the moderator for this session. I have around a decade of experience in the part where aviation and XR technology intersect. And I am particularly interested in this intersection. So I dedicated my career until this point entirely to this purpose. And I'm very, very excited about that. There are a couple of very interesting developments happening right now that actually push this case closer to a mass adoption case. This is the ultimate goal that we're working toward. And the interesting part about aerospace, aviation, and XR is that from my perspective, at least, it's a very, very natural fit. You have passengers, and we are covering more than just the in-airplane use case, but essentially you have passengers flying in a metal tube in 30,000 feet, being completely bored after a while, right? So that's, if you ever have a captive audience, that's it. And being able to escape this reality through immersive technologies is something that, at least when I started in this industry, it was an absolute no-brainer for me, and I was wondering why was nobody working on that. Turns out it's not very simple, and there are many challenges that have to be overcome, and that's also why we have not seen a broader adoption of the technology in the space. But we're getting there, and that's the really interesting thing about it. I'm right now the commercial director at MSM.digital, so we are the leading go-to-market partner for the big tech companies that produce or that provide the hardware, such as Meta. And we basically help implement solutions at scale for different industries. One of them is the aviation industry, hence my profile and my background and why I joined the company. With me on stage, we already introduced the people quickly. What I would like to do right now is to give everyone the floor for a short opening remark relating XR to their personal experience or company experience, respectively. And then we will have a couple of questions that I will be guiding through, and then hopefully we'll have an interesting discussion about the value of XR for aviation, but then also the challenges and especially how to overcome, and also how we together can actually tackle them. I hope you guys enjoy the show and the session, and if you have any questions, I didn't know it's a QA part at the end, but we can obviously adjust it. How do we get the questions with the mic then, or do we get them? Okay. If you have any questions, then we will be happy to answer them. On my left, I will start with Michele.
Come on, you can go ahead.
Michele, sorry.
Yeah.
Michele from TUI, leading immersive technologies at TUI. Yeah, maybe a couple of words from your side.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Michele. As you heard, I'm principal engineer for innovation in TUI, working on mainly 3 types of technologies. Immersive technologies, of course, and the topic for today, artificial intelligence and robotics. I'm a gamer, so I've been using immersive technologies since late 90s, I will say. So I'm a bit of a dinosaur in the industry, if you will, but hope to keep it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Then Nina from Austrian.
So hi, thanks for having us. I'm together with Agnes, a customer experience and communications at Austrian. I'm a little gamer myself, and I also use the Meta Quest at home, and that's why I know the possibilities. And I see so many amazing things we could offer to our passengers. And what is really exciting for me is because at Austrian, the center of our brand idea is to make our customers feel at ease, and I see endless possibilities in doing so, especially on an aircraft where most of the passengers do not feel at ease out of various reasons. And yeah.
Thank you. Then Agnes from Austrian.
Yes, hello, nice to meet you all. I have a background in hospitality, and it is always have been a part of my work to make people feel good in their leisure time. And now at Austrian Airlines as a customer experience developer, it's as Nina said, it's our work to make our guests feel at ease. This is what we admire. And usually, if you think of yourself, people are stressed to get to the airport. They're stressed to check in at the security, at boarding, and all these touch points are very stressful. So that's why we especially try on board to do whatever we can to entertain the board guests, as you said, Moritz, but also look at all the other types of needs that we have on board. And yeah, that's what I do every day, and it's a lot of fun.
Excellent, thank you. And then we have Olaf, from the German National Board of Tourism.
Yeah, that's right. Olaf Schlieper from the German National Tourist Board. I'm Innovation Manager. We work supported by the Ministry of Economics and by many partners like Lufthansa, like hotel chains, regions, whatever. And our task is to promote Germany worldwide, to attract travelers and convince them that we are the place to be and that they should travel to Germany. And of course, we cover all the standard channels like website, newsletters, social media, very powerful. And my job is to use immersive tech to attract customers, especially at our events, but also in other channels. And while we try to adapt the chances of the new devices since many years, we started with smart augmented reality apps for mobile phones. Then we did the first 360 experiences for the Oculus Go. Then an interactive stuff about activity in the German nature for the Quest 2 and the Pico. And now we launched at ITB, the largest travel fair in the world in Berlin in March, a new mixed reality app to explore the 55 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Germany in a very interactive way, and we adapted it for Meta and for Pico. And we're always looking for new channels to distribute our content, and we saw a new chance we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so we have basically three different perspectives here. We have a travel company, TUI, the largest one, that covers obviously more than aviation. So it goes from pre-booking, inspiring for actually travel, to the entire travel chain, hotels, cruise ships, and so on and so forth. Of course, also aviation part of that. Then we have the core aviation perspective here, which focuses a lot on the onboard experience. And then we have from the ecosystem perspective, Olaf. So I think this is very interesting to see how we can bring the things together. I would start with the value perspective. Michele, sorry, still not easy. Michele, from your perspective, the value for TUI as a travel company, what does XR bring to the table in terms of value for now and for the next, let's say, 2 years?
Yeah, quite a lot actually, because as you already said, we are looking at the world of travel in a holistic way. So before traveling, inspiration, during travel, and post-travel. And for the past 8 years, we have been experimenting quite a lot in all parts of the segment. So we had 360 content on our retail stores. We tested 360 content and immersive technologies on location for experiences and excursions and so on. We want to test it also for the in-flight entertainment now. And the interesting point is that we collected a ton of data points from our customers, and the outcome has normally been extremely positive. So we never saw a specific use case where we said, okay, maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense. So now really is the time, I believe, for the next 6 months to 2 years to move from the experimentation phase to a more structured deployment in production. That's for the consumer part, which is in development. Where I see value that can be exploited now is really on the operational side. Because we also tested immersive technologies, augmented reality, and extended reality for training purposes, for instance, cabin crew training, and for assisted maintenance using AR in our maintenance bases. Those type of use cases, I think, are really getting mature. Now we have, again, the possibility to actually develop quite a lot in those two sectors while we continue probing the consumer part. So I think that first we'll see the fruition of technology in the internal corporate environment, and over time, while we build the literacy also internally, we'll transition to the consumer side. And in order to do that, we want to do it end-to-end, so not just in the flight segment, but before and after. And it would be great if we had a kind of a common experience, also working with other companies and partners, because at the end of the day, the experience for customers is the one that makes the difference.
Okay, thank you. Same question basically to Austrian. I don't know who wants to take it from you.
I can start. So the value we are using, we are, as you said, also in maintenance for training purposes, and we also had this is a few years ago. We used VR glasses to promote upgrade sales. So we had it in JFK and we had it in Vienna, and when we had seats available in business class, we just offered our guests the VR glasses, and they were already sitting there, got served wonderful food from our caterer, and that worked quite well because they saw what they could have on board for a little money. But our wish is to take that further and to just use it for entertainment for our guests. We all know, or we see a lot of passengers tend to bring their own devices, their own iPads, and download their shows. And we would really love to offer something special that not everyone has, and really uplifts the product. Because at the moment, customer facing, we just showcase our product in marketing, in selling upgrades, but now we really want to entertain and ease the passengers.
Can I do one follow-up there? Can you maybe share a bit of the Lufthansa Group perspective as well, as much as you can? Not just like isolated on the Austrian case?
So I'm working close with the colleagues who had, I don't know if it's wrong, but was it called a test case? But they had several goggles on board, and they selected some routes where they tried it, and it was really, really well perceived, and customer really, really liked to have the extra of not having the regular IFE, but having something else. And this is something where you can just see that we should go with the time and implement something more than just a screen that you have on your iPad, as you might have brought your own anyway, but offer something that is not like something that you might not have at home unless you're a gamer or but yeah, like offer something to the regular people who are not into tech, and give them something special. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Olaf, you already touched a bit upon it, but in terms of the value that you see for the German national tours, like promoting Germany and the World Heritage sites that you were mentioning before, it's quite intuitive, of course, that in VR or XR you can experience something like that better without traveling there. In terms of the value, do you see, what's the connection that you see? Can you relate that to an increased interest in those sites, for example, or even then people traveling there based on the content that you provided or the experience that you provided already? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, we have 22 offices worldwide in the most relevant source market for Germany as a tourism destination. And all the colleagues have many events every year, from the small press conference to a B2B event for the travel trade, up to big public events. And through all the events, we use the virtual reality devices we had. We started with the Oculus Go with 360 content, up to now with mixed reality. And the feedback of the customers is so positive, extremely positive, because it's highly immersive, interactive, and if you do it right, it's easy to understand and to interact, and people get deeper into the destination in comparison to websites or email and the other channels we use. And if we then hear, oh, I didn't know that Germany is so beautiful, because they can look around and interact and even walk in the new device, in the new app, that's another level of communication. And if you see that people worldwide through all our market, doesn't matter if it's China or USA, wherever we use these devices, people are amazed And so the answer is clear. To invest in VR is really worth it. And we have a new distribution channel, the app stores. For us, it's very new to be present in the App Store of Meta, for example. And we have downloads and can reach a new target group, people who have access to VR goggles. And it's a surprise that the marks we get are very, very good. We didn't expect that because we are in concurrence to Epic Games and all the other stuff in the App Store. So we did not expect such positive reputation. But okay, we enjoy to have that.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks. Moving on to the second question, which is a bit more focused on constraints and how to overcome them. We've heard now a lot of, I would say, isolated use cases that already drive value, as we can see, and that we expect to actually drive more value than in the future. Maybe the question to Austrian this time. What do you see is stopping us right now from really, I mean, as I said in the beginning, the aviation environment, the operations are also streamlined and optimized, that changing those is very hard, right? So this is an obvious case, but what do you see on top of that that stops us from really scaling that right now? So how do you relate to that?
Maybe I can start. What stops us from scaling? We don't fly the glasses yet. It's space. If something we don't have on the aircraft is space, and we are looking all around, and we already asked our colleagues from load control. So, on which aircraft type would we have space for, like a MetaQuest 3? In a case, and yeah, space is very limited, and I think scaling is possible as soon as the glasses get way smaller. Yeah.
Maybe I can.
Number one point.
I mean, it's easy to find reasons that make it hard, but we are eager to not go with that and just find a way to do it. But something that is really, really the highest priority is safety. And if we talk to our safety department, they are afraid of what if the passenger doesn't hear or see anything that is happening around them, because usually you should be aware of what is happening if there is a case of emergency or anything. So that is also a really, really tough thing that we have to overcome. So safety and space is probably the two biggest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we are moving in this direction, and a lot of interesting developments will be happening in the foreseeable future that will actually solve that problem. And it's good to hear that, at least from our perspective, being in the industry for quite a while, to see that there's a change in the mindset of especially the aviation side, I would say the airline side, to be really more open to, like accept this technology and then also put it in. Of course, given that we can solve those challenges, constraints that we still have today. Michele, so for you.
Yeah, how many hours do we have? So yes, devices is definitely one potential issue for both the consumer and the internal operation part. Like with the disappearance of HoloLens, which device do we bring to a hangar now? Still question mark. And then, of course, weight and logistic is potentially a nightmare every time you fly. So we are mainly focusing on long haul at the moment, because there we have a bit more flexibility in terms of space and location. But the biggest issue that I see if we solve this thing is really twofold. The first is content. How do we scale the content to serve all the customers that we have for all the potential use cases? And normally, we would like to think at XR not just as a sales and marketing tool, because of course it's a new channel for that, but we need to give customers real entertaining experiences. Otherwise, there's no reason for them to use it more than once. So scaling the content is on top of our list, and I will say that technology is evolving quite rapidly there. So especially with 360, of course, now Gaussian splatting, but then we need to work with agencies so that we can wrap everything into a very nice experience for customers. Last but not least, I will say that there is a big opportunity because we tend to think that wearables and XR are the perfect platform for AI agents. So the intersection of AI and immersive technologies may play an interesting role in the next futures. So from one side, we have certain blockers that I think will overcome over time. But then we really need to propel ourselves into the future with additional type of content and experiences.
We're going to touch on this part then in the third question again, because I have a couple of follow-ups on that. But we start this time with Olaf on the third question. So in terms of what would you like to see in terms of collaboration also between a travel company, an airline, and also ecosystem partners such as yourself? What could be done in order to facilitate getting to this future that we all envision and that we all want to see? Do you have concrete ideas, input here that we can use and that we can discuss then also later on?
It depends on the solution. Now we have a single solution focusing on 360 pictures, and even this was a hell of work to get up to 5 pictures for each of the 55 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, because tourism in Germany, I think it's worldwide, is not prepared for the new tech, even if it's only 360 pictures. So we had to research a lot, to buy in databases, and at the end we sent photographers to shoot by ourselves to get the right quality, So it's still a lack of knowledge and availability of content throughout the whole, if I generalize, tourism industry, So it's a start. What we do in Germany is standardized tourism content. We have an open data project together with other countries to get tourism data in the same structure and ready to deliver, for example, for AI searches. And now we have to add also 360 and spatial content in that ecosystem to be ready for the future. And we are working on that heavily. And with Kosmosplating, you already mentioned, it's an amazing tool to make destinations visible, explorable in a highly immersive way, like we never had it before. It's cheap, it's fast, it's amazing. But it's a lot of sensitization necessary to the heads of the decision makers to invest in that new technology, to be able to deliver appropriate content in a network, as you addressed, with other partners. And if I may address another topic, we are also dealing with space, but in another view, because we are heavily investing in accessibility of our tools, because we don't want to leave anybody behind, because we see a lot of business potential if we address older people, especially in Europe. The generations are getting older and older, the users. And also because the legislation in Germany forces us to be accessible with all our communication. So we invested a lot to make this new device or the new app as accessible as possible for wheelchair users, for blind and deaf people, for many kinds of accessibility need. And it's perfect. But now we have the new challenge, after making it possible to move around and roll around with the wheelchairs, just to sit on a small place in an airplane. You even can't do big gestures. So we had to rethink the project and to make it usable on an appropriate and still fun way on the airplane. So it's a new kind of accessibility need we had to address, very interesting. At the end, it was not that hard to change the navigation, but you have to think about the new situation of people sitting in far distance buses, in trains, or especially in airplanes.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. I think that makes a lot of sense also, given that there is only limited experience so far in an airplane cabin. What does it mean for the user experience, the user interface, how to basically enable your app to be consumed in a safe and accessible way? This is something that through more and more projects, I think we can channel that back for the content providers in that sense, and to have it even better than through iterations. Yeah. Maybe building on that, Michele, you also were mentioning the content part for TUI. Obviously, you have like this, you can inspire people all along the value chain or the travel chain by showing this. how in that context can this group help you there or help TUI there get there?
Yeah, here I have a bit of a devil's advocate approach. Because in the travel sector, we have been extremely good for the past few years to talk about how seamless the travel experience needs to be and so on. And then we started building silos. So it would be great if we could start now standardizing technologies, for instance, which metadata, how do we do identity handover? And maybe we can create a kind of a economy of content. So if I have a specific content on excursion, that could be interesting for a traveler with Austrian Airlines. We have a way to exchange this information because we build a kind of a trusted relationship, if you will. So that's one part. And then I have a very interesting example of collaboration that happened recently. We have a foundation that is called the TUI Care Foundation that is dedicated to travel and sustainability, working with the United Nations World Travel Organization. We created a innovation laboratory in the island of Rhodes, together with the municipality of Rhodes, the administration of the South Aegean, and the TUI Care Foundation. And working with the local association of guides, we created an augmented reality treasure hunt, which is a complement to what the guides are showing people when they go to Rhodes. And the idea is, can we start, transforming travelers into ambassadors of the place? And we are collecting data now, of course. We are analyzing what works and so on. But imagine how powerful could it be if we could start this experience before we travel, and then we publish it together with the German association. So we actually have this kind of experience before. Then we have the follow-up, maybe during the flight. It doesn't matter if it's TUI or another operator. And then once you arrive, you have the complete experience. So this is why I was thinking at the beginning that we should start thinking more of a system than a single episode in your life. And I think that will unleash a lot of powerful experiences for people.
Okay, thank you. Then also same question to Austrian, maybe also adding on top of the in-flight entertainment part that we discussed, maybe also the other aspects, the training aspect that you said, the maintenance side. How does that relate to it in terms of how this group and the collaboration and a collaborative approach can actually support? It's a bit of a broad question, I understand that, but yeah, give it a go.
So when I think of the situation on board, we all know it's very tight. So as you said, we shouldn't move too much around or get the guests to gesture a lot or maybe bother the person next to him or her who maybe wants to sleep or eat, and then, like there's tomato juice spilled or whatever. That would be the worst. So this is something we really need to make sure we have the personal space for our guests if we think of the onboard experience. Yeah, and for the training part, I mean, if it's a cabin training or a cockpit training, you usually have space, so there's not that much of a problem with the space. But I guess it's also that we need very, very specific content for trainings, because it depends on the aircraft you are trained on or whatever surrounding you have. So there is so much to think of depending on the content. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Then I would just checking, yeah, we are good in time, but also to allow for a couple of questions. I would ask each of you to do a quick closing statement and maybe give one recommendation for what we discussed now to actually scale, how we can scale XR in aerospace and aviation. Michele?
Again, how many hours we have? So I have two final statements, if you will. The first is that XR arrive or land after. First, you need to take care of the boring part. So, and I mean the ecosystem. Do you have the pipeline that scales for the content? Do you have the MDM management in place? Is it governance ready or not? Otherwise, the transition from pilot to production will never happen. And that's the first part. And the second element, I will say, is really, can we increase, and it's difficult, especially for travel companies, they increase the XR literacy. So our knowledge of the platform and technologies, because XR, it's actually outside of the traditional domain of corporate IT. And we need support on that. And I always make the example of an amazing team, the engineering team of KLM. They do and create great stuff. And for me, they are the North Star of the industry. And in order to reach that stage, you need to invest in training.
Okay. Then same question to Austrian. One specific recommendation to make XR scale?
As I said before, safety and space. That's all we need.
Okay, they're short and sweet. And then Olaf.
Yeah, of course we are proud to be the first national tourist sport to be part of in-flight entertainment of Lufthansa. Now with the Quest 3, but this is not the future. We are heavily waiting for what has been announced yesterday and today, the new devices, smarter, lighter, more affordable, and being useful in daily life of people. So if these devices are used by many people, as we hope now, nobody tries to announce concrete development. That's very obvious at this event, like in the years before. But we really count on that. Everything what we do now for VR will pay in the new devices upcoming, and according to space needed on board and according to the ability to use the devices because they know it from the daily lives of customers. It's a huge market in the air. I mean, it's about 5 billion people traveling around the world every year. And if you add buses and trains, it's even more. So for us as a national tourist spot, it's a very, very attractive market. And if people get more used to the devices and they get smaller and cheaper, more powerful, then it's the place to be for us and other tourist sports and partners.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that concludes basically the discussion part. From my side, also my closing remark would be that all of what I heard now today and in this discussion points in the direction that we are getting there, that it might still take a bit of time, and we are still all learning on the process, that's clear. But we have made a lot of progress over the last 10 years, leave alone 10 years, the last 2 years already. The headsets are an extremely important part, of course, and they're getting better. We, as Olaf said, we don't know everything what's happening in the future there, but we know that they are getting to the form factor that we will need. The passenger acceptance, I would say, and we're focusing now a lot on the in-flight use case. The training, I think we already have a very established process, and a lot of companies are already using that. But if you're looking at an in-flight use case, passenger acceptance is extremely high, and that's something that we've seen before and we see more and more. So that also points in the right direction. And then content, that's the third part that we discussed here, that needs to be relevant, it needs to be safe, it needs to be accessible, and it needs to be basically giving a value add. If it's not a value add, people will use it, and okay, but it needs to really go beyond. And this is something that's always a bit difficult talking about with airlines, and we have some airline representatives here. The seatback screen that we are all used to, which is always outdated, which is always like you click on it, it's not responding. There's a reason for that. It takes a lot of time and effort to put those in, and it's really costly to replace them. And in my opinion, at least, the vision is that in the future, passengers have their own devices. There is an internet connectivity on board, and you can actually save a lot of fuel as an airline, getting rid of those screens and cabling, or a lot of the cabling at least. And you can still have a really, really positive and very good passenger experience. So if we get there, I'm very grateful that all of you guys are supporting that case. We are also very strongly pushing it forward. And yeah, whenever in the future we will see a lot of people using VR or XR headsets on board of airplanes, these people were all a really substantial part of that process. So thanks a lot, everyone. And yeah, happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Great. Take the microphone.
Ciao Michele.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
And from now on, we will continue in Italian. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
You talked about siloing of data and siloing of information. Wouldn't it be the holy grail to have, even though the data lives in different places, at least it'd be accessible for a wide range of AI and other apps?
Yeah, absolutely.
How much of a barrier is this currently?
Well, I think, again, we need a few hours to go deeper in details, but there are two main barriers. The first is, of course, the technology barrier. Reality is travel companies, normally they are fairly, let's say, conservative in terms of technology evolution. So there is a big push in digitalization that we started 8 years ago, and now it's coming to fruition. In the world of content, I mean, depending on which PIM you're using, and you may have more than one PIM in the company, we have 5 at the moment that I know of. We are looking into building a kind of a content catalog on top, instead of unifying everything. The same thing that we did for our data lake, we want to do for content. So it doesn't matter if the content is coming from our hotel division, it's available for the airline and vice versa. So that's one thing, but that's internal. The external part is very challenging, because then we need to start working together and decide, okay, guys, what do we do here? And I still believe that this kind of economy of content makes it also interesting for the AI part. We just mentioned very briefly semantic search, which is a big topic for all the travel content. And of course, if I am looking at providing the best possible service to customers, you need to have this end-to-end perspective. And reality is you will never be able to have all the content that you need. So the only way for real operators is actually to start sharing as much as possible. Will this happen? I don't know. So TLDR, internal part, we are trying to fix it. It takes a bit of time, but we are getting there. And the main challenge is organizational, not technological. The industry part, we need to talk. And I really hope that it will be addressed in a way or another in the next future.
Hello. I want to ask my question to Michael again. You said you have used augmented reality in the maintenance of the planes. What are the difficulties you encounter while using this type of glasses? So,
we tested different approaches, and the best result were with the now late Microsoft HoloLens. Of course, you're talking about using a device in a hazardous environment where you're working at height and so on. So you need to be very specific in the procedures that you actually approve for that or not. That's one thing. So the safety part is very important, of course. The second is, again, the fact that most of the software that we use and the information that we use are in legacy platforms, and exchanging information is not that easy. So the big difficulty that we saw was not really about the device by itself. Everybody loved it. But how do I put the right information in front of the engineer when he needs it? That's the difficult and challenging part. But we have a couple of use cases where we demonstrated a significant saving in terms of time. And if we can save, I don't know, 40 days of hangar space in our base station in Brussels here, that's a huge saving, besides the fact that, of course, planes are flying and not being there. So we have the two challenges, the safety one, and I think that we took care of that very well. The back office or legacy part is the most difficult one.
I had a question for Nina and Agnes regarding the in-flight entertainment that you've tested. I'm quite curious about the acceptance from the cabin crew. How were they with maybe explaining the new technology to the passengers? And it's, of course, an extra task to their job description.
Just to be clear, we're not flying VR glasses yet. We're just evaluating, but we already contacted crew. The first step, flight safety. than the crew, because we need to get everyone on board to make this project happen in the future. And they were really excited. So we got a really positive response. Of course, it's a little more work for them. If we are flying the classes, we will do it on long-haul flights because that's where we have the space. And our crews, I really honestly have to say, everything they can offer our guests, they're super happy to do it, and they're very open to use it. And as soon as we really implement the classes, we're doing experience days with the crew. So that's on our roadmap, if we do it, that they really can experience themselves, because it's very important that they know what is the passenger seeing there, what can he do. I mean, they will not give any technical support. That's what we really state quite clear. But it's very important for us to have our crew on board, of course.
Thank you. A question to Michele again. I'm Alessandro Figallo from Arsenalia, and I guess we have one similar problem because we also implemented some use cases in aerospace using HoloLens. So the question is, because HoloLens is going to be retired and also the support is ending, did you already tested some alternative, or did you have any idea of which will be the device is going to replace this device?
Unfortunately, not yet, in the sense that we didn't find an alternative device that fits for purpose. We are looking at it now from a slightly different perspective. We're really interested in the new Meta display because we are building an interesting, I think, neurosymbolic system to integrate procedure information with a voice interface. And that's the perfect use case because you have something that is not obstructive. Of course, it's a noisy environment, but all the tests that we did with HoloLens before went really well, actually. So we're really satisfied. But if we have engineers interacting with the procedure using voice, that will be really, really great. And you have a small display for details and so on. Of course, it's not what we will need, but I think that's a significant step forward. And this is why I mentioned this interaction or integration between immersive technologies and AI, because voice is an amazing user interface. Instead of having to pinch around and so on, where you're working on something that's fairly big and you need to pay attention.
So a question, I guess, from Olaf, please. You mentioned when you were talking about the World Heritage 55 sites, you mentioned in passing that it would be interesting to see these activities maybe by other tourist boards. My question is, do you already have equivalents in other European countries that are doing something like that, that you might be working together with? And the second, you mentioned that I think Lufthansa is using what you've captured already. And did they do so because you contacted them directly and provided information, or do you have a repository that then several industry people can jump into and create their own experiences from there, like a federated way and unified way? Thank you.
Well, as far as I know, we are the only national tourist board being so active in VR. The competitors are not very active. They're still stuck in standard communication channels. That's our advantage. But on the other hand, we see it as a partner of the European Travel Commission, which is a unified organization for all the national tourist boards in Europe, that we together could be more powerful if we all focus on the new devices. If it comes to Lufthansa, we didn't prepare it. They searched for solutions and tested and decided that our device or our app about the UNESCO World Heritage Sites fits very much to the needs of customers. They did tests on long-haul flights and checked what people would like to see and to use. And obviously, our UNESCO Heritage mixed reality experience fits to this demand of customers.
Hello, I have a question. It's probably aimed towards in-flight entertainment, but I guess it's valid for every use case. And it's about ROI, so the return of investment, which is the question I always hate. But so without no doubt, it's exciting times that we're gonna be able to experience mixed reality on plane, something to entertain the flyers. What are the measurable sort of ROI channels or indicators that you are looking at that you will see in future? You know, is this gonna be a paid service? Is it gonna attract more customers towards your airline, or is it gonna be something that kind of motivates people to upgrade to higher class of a ticket? Or you probably know the answer.
Well, the question is really good. As you said, the ROI question is really something in customer experience. It's always hard to answer because what is the value that you as a company get back? But from my perspective, it's something, if we as Austrian could do something like that, we can say we are one of the first to do it on board. And this is something that is worth a lot, to not always be the last ones to implement something, but at one point be in the front row and say, we've done it first. This is, I think, something that we can get management with too. So the ROI question is then kind of gone. So we do it in the political way and don't answer the question, but find a different way to it. I hope that answers the question as well.
I can add as well, because we are looking at it from both perspectives. We are in a very early stage, so I think before the stage of Austrian Airlines. And we're looking at, first, what is the economy of scale of removing the in-flight entertainment first. How much we save in terms of course, technology, maintenance, fuel, and so on and so forth. And does it make sense? So can we provide a 300 headset on a flight? Yes or no? That's one. The second is the paid model. How much people are actually willing to pay if we give them as an add-on. And again, we are collecting data there. We are doing customer panels and so on. And the third, of course, is at least in our case, the upselling, cross-selling, because normally if you're flying with TUI, you are going to a TUI resort. Not always, of course, but you're going to a TUI resort, so I can give you a lot of information about your destination already and potential excursions. So that's also a potential part of the business model. But we are in a very early stage. So we are considering both the paid model or just I give it to you as a premium experience.
And I think there are a lot of cooperation possibilities, especially in a touristy country like Austria, for example. You're on the way to Bangkok and you can sit in the Vienna Opera House and see an opera, or are in Salzburg and watch the Festspiele flying like an eagle over Tyrol. I think the possibilities for cooperations are endless. Or you make a seminar to get rid of your fear of flying. So I really think as soon as we know if the passengers like it, and as soon as we know where we can stow it and load it, I think we have various options.
We as the National Tourist Board using VR are not so much focusing on earning money. Our ROI is awareness time, you know. In the classical distribution channels like TikTok, whatever, we fight for seconds of awareness. And with the new device, Quest 3, we have up to 30 minutes being people inspired by Germany in the App Store. And the same is with our events. There are many people who don't want to leave the glasses because they are so amazed. You know, it's 10 up to 20 minutes even on events. People love to explore Germany or Austria, whatever, you know, because it's so highly immersive. And that's the benefit. And if you think about people traveling on long-haul flights, they are bored. They may even invest even more time to be in Germany in a virtual way. So that's our ROI.
So thank you very much. Very enlightening. Question on the content and the experience. Have you, because we've been talking about we need content, but do you know what kind of content, like what kind of experience you want to bring to the travelers and, you know, on the headset? And obviously, yeah, 360 is a lot of fun, but in an economy seat, people moving like that. I don't think it's a great idea necessarily. So I'm sure that you've put some thought into it. So I'd love to hear you about what you think is the right experience and the right type of content for this.
I'll start, and because the first thing that comes to my mind is that Moritz already said the IFE is always outdated. That's not a secret. It's very hard and expensive to exchange it. So in terms of the content, we can even we can go beyond, as Nina said, like have an orchestra in front of you and hear the sound. And the idea is to bring our guests at ease. So maybe there is a meditation content, something that kind of the time flies by, you are relaxed and you get out of it and say, wow, that was a great flight. So something that we can't do with the in-flight entertainment, we can't really catch the emotions, and I think we have the option with that, yeah.
And as I said before, over 50% of our guests are afraid of flying in various levels, thank you. And the best thing would be if we find a way for those who are really, really super afraid of flying, but just have to do it, that they can forget that they are on an aircraft, but still aware of, like, so that's a tricky point, yeah? In the best case, they forget that they're in an aircraft, but in case of an emergency, that they can react really, really quickly. And as Agnes said, so at the first steps, we want to make our guests just feel at ease.
If I can add a couple of things, I mean, everything just said, of course. And to me, the other interesting thing is what can we bring to customers that they cannot get from a traditional IFE. So three-dimensional content, of course, 360, they cannot move or slap other passengers in the face, but 180 stereoscopic works really well. Gaming, relaxation, and so on. And I think that we have also the opportunity to bring places to people, not only people to places. So can we give them an overview, an experience of the locus that they are traveling to? Can they interact in some way that makes sense using 3D assets and so on and so forth? So that kind of gamified experience, I think will be really, really interesting, at least to test. And the first feedback that we got, again, are very positive in this direction.
We could also, until now, we only talked about a single user experience, but think about a local network in the airplane or being online through Starlink, whatever. Then you could even offer a team experience with your family, with your school group, with your sports team, or ask anybody in the cabin, would you like to play game X with me? Or even in our app, you could invite other people to walk through the heritage sites with people you've never seen before, but they're sitting in the same plane, to have a joint experience. That's a totally new idea, but I think technically it could be possible and even more fun.
One question, Michele. Our ROI is an important thing. So probably we can save costs in the future. We can add additional revenue by sell content or experiences. But you have experience in terms of cross-selling. And for me, one question I was going to ask you later is like the conversion rate. How much higher is it from being a singular 2D picture or 2D screen impression to an immersive presence, being in the presence?
Over my dead body. No, see, I cannot give you precise number, but I can tell you it's double digit. So is significantly higher.
Do we have time for another question? We just have 3 minutes, so it will be probably our last. Sorry. Here. Oh.
Hi. I was wondering, you focus your content a lot on entertainment. Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Yeah.
You say you want to kind of distract the passengers and give them a very relaxing content. But aren't you afraid that the more you immerse them in a virtual world, the more motion sickness they might experience?
That's a very good point. That's why we need to do test cases to see if they're feeling sick. I just can say myself, when I use the headsets for too long, even in my flat, I get, depending on what game I play or what content I see, yeah, it happens that you get dizzy.
Let's switch the table here. Let's ask a question to the audience. How many of you tested real in-flight entertainment while flying in XR? By raise of hand. Okay, not a lot. A few, but not a lot. Do it. Because I think that the idea of motion sickness from time to time may be overrated. It happens, of course, and you need to give the proper instruction to people. So if you start feeling dizzy, sick, whatever, just get out of the experience. Is perfectly fine and normal. But in our experience, and we tested XR with hundreds of people, the percentage is actually quite low. And especially if in flight you're using extended reality, so you see the cabin around you and you have the XR part just covering part of your fields of view, is actually quite comfortable. It's not that bad. If the latency, of course, is low and so on and so forth. So there are some technical elements that you need to fix. But it's not that bad. And of course, you need to have the plan B ready. So if it doesn't work for a person, they need to have, in any case, a nice experience without XR. You cannot exclude them just because they don't feel like using it.
I think, yeah, we are just on time. Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Very engaging audience. Thanks a lot for that. And thanks for the panelists for this talk.